I would like to invite those still sitting on the fence, on the doors, to come in, as we are going to begin the last part of the day. And we will now talk about, well, I would say the real stuff. We've been talking from this angle and the other angle a bit about digitalization. Well, here and now we will talk about digitalization proper. We will talk about e-solutions for digital frontrunners. And the last panel we had about states and adapting or leading the way, I remembered Finland as Finland comes to my mind on so many occasions when we talk about innovation. I am a neighbor, so maybe I shouldn't say this. I should say maybe about bad things about Finland, but you're making it very difficult. So what I remembered is the recent news that Finland has started to use blockchain technology to help refugees make the first steps into the society. So not to stop on the refugee issue that much, which is a critical and important issue, but how Finland, as a state, has been agile and bold to test new technologies on a small scale and making it happen. And that's a very interesting initiative, and there are plenty, and we will hear about some of them. But before we go to Finland, we'll talk about Estonia. The next speaker is from here, and he's the chief information officer of Estonia, and one of the founders and main figures behind the e-residency program. So I would like you to warmly welcome to the stage Mr. Siim Sikkut.
All right. Well, I hope you consider us now, the three of us, the treat at the end of the day, right? So we'll really try to give you a glimpse about some of the things that can be done digitally, at least from Estonian perspective, some of the things we do digitally every day. In my short talk, I'll briefly go back in a sense that talk about, let's say, yes, all the things we built up with the help of digital tools, at least in government side. I'll speak a bit about what have been some of the, let's say, enablers along the way. And then I'll talk also what's next for us. How do we go forward on this digitization path? But I'll start by saying this. The reason why Estonia has been trying to do things digitally in government, in society, in economy for the last 20 years is really for the sake of efficiency. Being a small place, little natural resources, very fiscally conservative, so which means that we have to do with money we have, then how do you still pull off being a fully fledged country with defense, welfare, the whole spiel? Well, by being as damn efficient as we can in all different ways. And that was really the background why we started experimenting with digital tools. I mean, just as only internet was going to the mainstream in late 90s. And mind you, these experiments worked. We were able to deliver, and we are able to deliver services better and more conveniently for the people. We are also more efficient in the back office, the belly of the government. So the experimentations became a strategy that it is until today. And so if we leap forward 20 years where we stand now, then today, at least when it concerns government, almost anything and everything we need to get done as a citizen, as an entrepreneur, we can get done online ourselves from a distance and so forth. The only exceptions are a few transactions or interactions, if you wish, that we consider high risk, like getting married. So as that comes with such a strong legal consequence, sorry to take the romance away, then we want to make sure you really know what you're doing. So you still have to show up for that, even though technologically, we could of course handle that one from a distance as well. Or buying real estate and selling it. So again, we want to make sure that as that might be your most valuable asset, you're not being cheated out of this. So yes, you have to see a notary, even though all the rest of it from there, all the documentation and process and so forth will happen digitally, but you have to show up once. Now, everything else, yes. For example, when we look at entrepreneur's life, so all the things from starting a company, for that you go online, to all the red tape that is involved in running a company, reports to the tax office or customs or employment reasons or annual reporting of statistics, you can handle them online. And the point there is that why we have so strongly focused, for example, in this area, is to put this way, we make life more efficient for entrepreneurs. But if their life is efficient, well, their costs are lower and they're more productive, which means that there's more growth to be around. The business environment is better. These days, we even go further, and we have opened up our services and business environment for the whole wide world through e-residency. I'll come back to this. But I mean, digital services and the benefits can, of course, go beyond companies greatly. And if we talk about people's life, well, yes, any applications to the government or anything you need to get done, you can handle yourself online. It goes all the way to things that people want to do, not only the bureaucracy that we make them to or you have to do, but want to do, like voting. So even for voting in Estonia, there's an option to vote from a distance, yourself over internet. We've done it since 2005. About a third of the votes last time came for the parliament vote from around the world where our citizens happen to be. So we made it easier and more convenient to vote. And I mean, mind you, well, people are global. That's one thing. That's one thing. But at the same time, it also can be quite a bad weather for voting in Estonian case. So the picture is no accident. In our case, parliamentary voting is the first Sunday of a March. So it can very well be that it can be a snowstorm out there, but yes, you don't have to bother with it. You can just vote from the comfort of your home or office and be done with it. But of course, perhaps the most important services happen to be around situations and transactions or interactions where perhaps people need the government the most or public sector help the most, like when it's health emergency, for example. Again, digital tools allow us to deliver better for people in these cases. I mean, the simplest example, why we have been building up a medical health record, digital health record for the whole country for the last 10 years, so that if it comes to that, we would have data really fast available, even for the simplest things like blood type. And through that, yes, we might save time on saving people's lives, but at the very least, we save time of all the sort of regular sort of meetings and procedures that happen in a medical system. For example, there's less of a need to redo analysis. Or as prescriptions are digital, I don't have to go to see a doctor just to get a paper slip and get my medicine from a pharmacy. I have a chronic condition, and most prescriptions are for chronic conditions. I just call up my doctor or email or whatever. They issue me the prescription, and I just go to the pharmacy. I save time, and doctors can spend more time on treating acute cases that come in, not issuing papers and being a bureaucrat in that sense. So in all different ways, yes, whether through people's life, entrepreneurs' life, or the whole of government, we see clear, big efficiency benefits. I have to say here, the biggest benefit we have seen comes from one place, and that is digital signatures. So if we look at what have been the enablers or pillars for our digital way of life, one of them clearly has been a digital identity. Since 2001, in Estonia case, every citizen, every resident here has a digital identity token in the pocket. It's our ID card. And with that, that is my key to then getting anything and everything done securely online, to accessing services online. And on top of this, it's also my way to sign digitally from a distance in a way that is legally equal to my handwritten signature. And why this matters so much, why it's such a big efficiency gain, if you think about it, quite often, a lot of procedures in government require some sort of signatures, right? Some sort of authorization, basically. For that reason, we make you show up. So even if the rest of the service otherwise can be digital, at some point you still have to either go to some office or have them come to you, or your courier papers around or whatever. If there's a secure way to sign things, well, the whole cycle of any service now, technically even marriage, could be happening online. And what's more, this is not just for the government. Actually, identity and signatures really work for the whole of economy. So in Estonia, any sort of bank sort of deeds you need to do, in B2B, business-to-business contracts, or even business-to-customer contracts, they can be handled from a distance without physical meeting, and thus through a digital service channel. So all in all, we estimate sort of back of the envelope way that we save about a work week each year per every working person just by signing anything and everything digitally. But the work week is about 2% of our annual product. So that's how much we are more efficient just by signing things. Another pillar, and I'll be brief here, has been an ability to exchange data between whatever parts of government and do so securely and in a standard way. This matters because at the end of the day, people don't care about different government silos, right? They want a seamless service, be served in one contact as much as possible. Technically, that means that we have to pull different bits and pieces of data together or push them some way. having a single platform or shared platform for that, which we have in the form of X-Road, makes it so much easier and faster. Basically, if you need to exchange data, pull or push data, send or receive data, that's just very simple to set it up with the help of a shared platform. So innovation in different fields, be it tax or health or whatever, becomes so much easier. Third pillar, and again, I have to be brief here, but is that we've always had a clear understanding that trust has to be there. If you don't have the trust, well, people don't come to use the services. If they don't come to use services online, we can't really be a digital government. We can't reap the benefits of efficiency we want. So trust means yes. That's why we have a very strong privacy protection framework, like we all do in Europe at least. That is why we also focus so much on cybersecurity, from all the way how we design things and using state-of-the-art technology and really sort of thinking about how to make things secure already in the design phase, to having very strong daily defenses up against whatever threats might arise. And this leads me to another point, is in the end, whether it's trust or whether it's actually the benefits of digitalization, it's not just about technology. What we have clearly seen, what needs to be there as a pillar, of course, is a good supporting legal environment and framework, or regulation framework if you want. So the simple example, yes, the fact that we need to have trust, well, that means that we have to have a strong data protection framework. But at the same time, legal framework, as we have seen, can also push us to do more in terms of digitalization. It can enable us to do more. So example I have here is that in Estonia, we've had a principle called once only in the service, in the government side for quite a number of years now. And that means that in principle, if some part of government knows some data about you, the rest should not ask again. So basically, yes, if you reported your, for example, your taxes one place, or let's say you reported that you're on in the board of a company with business registry, for example, tax office or others should not ask again. They just have to do a machine-to-machine query and exchange data in the back end. For people, it means, for user point of view, it means there's less hassle for me to go around in different places. And even if I need to go, all these interactions will be quicker and seamless for me because I don't have to represent and keep representing data again and again and again. So this sort of example of a rule has pushed us to really make the most of technology, in this case, data exchange. Now, that's all Estonia so far. Looking ahead, we don't think we are anywhere near ready in making the use of technology in the government. So, even if I said at the beginning that almost anything I can get done digitally with my government, our thinking is very simple. If we now add on top of this, and even simple things like a bit more automation, integration, analytics, we could actually get rid of interactions and the hassle for people completely. So think about a few things that we are building up here. So for example, for companies, we are building it up now this way, that if they will agree, if they will consent to us through our tax office to have automatic access to their financial records, then ideally, in a soon enough future, never ever they would have to submit any report to the government again. Not for statistics or tax or employment or annual reporting, whatever. We ask those things, and yes, you can do them one by one online right now already today or electronically. But we ask for those things because we need data to ensure compliance, for example. But data is digital. So if we just actually connect to the data in a digital way, well, we don't need to bother entrepreneurs later on at all. And for companies who are, let's say, majority in the economy, their business is rather simple. Money comes in, money comes out, goes out. So they wouldn't even necessarily need an accountant anymore, which they might have so far needed to get done with all the sort of red tape that is involved in running a company. Or another example, a child is born. So again, we don't need big data as a government to figure out what are the next things that people will either have to or want to make. So for example, name the child, apply for some benefits, put the kid in a kindergarten line, all these things. Well, we know this from our own experience, right? I mean, you can get them done before you leave. In Estonia, you can get them done before you leave the hospital the next day. You can just do it from a hospital bed, but you have to go to 5 different locations online to get stuff done. Whereas, actually, government knows that the baby was born because hospital, the doctor makes an entry to population registry. We know that the kid is there. We know the parents because that connection is also made. We could turn a service around and proactively come to the new parents now and say, well, thank you for the new citizen. Tell us the name. instead of waiting for them to come to us and please government, can I name my baby this? So again, and then instead of the benefits and waiting for benefits applications, well, we could again just instead say, look, based on the records, that's your bank number, for example, we have on the record. Do you want the benefits to be sent there? We don't need to wait for applications. 95% or more of people will apply for those benefits anyway. We know this from statistics, right? So why do we ask? Let's get rid of these unnecessary interactions. Let's connect the dots and data and serve people proactively. That sort of government and services we want to build, and we sort of call them like invisible services is the target. The next thing, and this is very relevant to this room as well, I hope. So far, it's crazy for us, but digital government in our global internet age stops at the physical borders, even in a single market of ours. So we'll have exactly Janne here on the stage soon. Even if you go to Finland, Helsinki from here, right, 80 kilometers or 50 miles, then there's so much hassle involved if you go to live there or work there or do the business there. Paperwork you have to resort to, even though at home you do the stuff digitally, and even if the other country there does stuff digitally. So let's just connect the governments. And instead of papers and sort of hassle and stuff like that, if we connect the governments, our sort of databases and systems, well, we can make the data flow or at least be accessible across the borders, and people don't have the hassle anymore. They just go to live or do business in another country like they're supposed to in a single market. And if data is accessible for the other governments as well, they can be served immediately. Again, why not even in the once-only mode? So what we have pitched as a presidency now, for example, is that, look, why can't we have once-only on a European level? If I go to do business in Finland or whatever other country, and there's data that the next government will want about me at my home government already, these two guys would have to connect, and I would have a right to say no to the new government, saying, look, I'm not giving you my data again. Ask from my home. That would push digitization and cross-border services and the integration so much faster. And the last bit, but let's say if we fail on the cross-border government side, well, Estonia does have another plan, at least where we are concerned. So we just will welcome anybody in the world to come use our services. So through e-residency, which has been mentioned, we have opened up our digital service space for the wide world already. We did it 2.5 years ago. We have today about 24,000 virtual Estonians out there who have come to use our services offered by the government, our private partners. The target group here is really entrepreneurs and freelancers, all those who want to basically be mobile, work around the world, to cross-border business and be trusted in this. In that sense, with e-residency, we are very much enabling, let's say, the future of work models, because there's more and more people who want to be not tied down to a location, and that also means not tied down to a government location. So if we can serve them from here, great, and they will jump at the opportunity. And my last bit, well, we have 24,000 e-residents, like I said. It may not sound much, but clearly we're banking on a trend of growing trend in the world. And weekly, we get more e-residents than we make babies. So already now, digitally, we're able to grow faster than physically, although we will keep trying the last bit too. So with that, I will end here. I hope you got some food for thought about what we've done in Estonia and where we plan to go next. And we are very eager if you want to do stuff with us. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Voting. I think this is something every Estonian can tell always their friends, that, oh, the e-society and this and that and voting. We don't stand in queues anymore to go and vote. And it may come off as something, you boast about, but I do feel personally that it would be unnatural to go and spend time on such a vital and important thing you should do. I was talking to an American. When I was living in Brussels and working at the European Parliament, I used the ID card for voting. Right. My American friend had to go to an embassy to get some sort of a paper with which he could just register for the voting day at the embassy again, and then he went there again for the second or third time to stand in a queue. And that just sounded horrible. But to do my American friend justice, when we walked to the European Parliament and saw all the European flags there, I asked my American friend, so where is your flag? And he responded, on the moon. So, let's take a question from the audience.
Yes.
Securest or strongest? How can you say that? in the light of recent crisis with the card. Is crisis a strong word?
Oh, yes. And I actually thank you for the question. Now, so I should now give a few words of background. So what we have had for the last week or 10 days now is not a crisis with a card, but rather we have found out some theoretical vulnerability when it comes to our ID cards, some of them. And this is not the issue of identity as such, but a particular batch of them that have been sort of mal-produced, by the way, by, unfortunately, our partners. Now, the point here is this, that we have always been very clear in Estonia, any technology can fail, and at some point most probably will. The same way, I mean, there's nothing in the end that is 100% unhackable or foolproof or secure like that. But we can manage this risk to an acceptable level. And in a way, that's what we're doing with ID cards right now. We are managing the risk that it won't become an actual fault and something bad would be done. We are acting proactively, essentially, and very transparently about this. We went live with public with the ID card issue exactly for the reasons that people would know about this and it won't become a crisis, actually.
I think that was a fantastic way to go about it. And indeed, every technology has its weaknesses, and it's just about mitigating risks. Let's take another one. Are you trying to cross the digital divide in this Estonian society, and how?
Another excellent question. Actually, this has been very much ongoing in parallel to all the digital government build-up, right? So ever since the early days, so to speak, a lot of attention was put to skilling of people and sort of giving them basically the means and the capacity to use things online, whether by government or otherwise, right? To be employed and with the computer skills and stuff like that. Now, I have to say that, I mean, this has been greatly taken forward by also having very good partnership with our private sector here, who actually led and many of those efforts as well. Over the years, I believe literally 1/6 of the whole nation, about 200,000 people, adults, were trained in basic computer literacy. You know, what is internet, how to use things online, you know, what is a browser and so forth. At this point, we stand at the rate that there's about 90% of adults online, so 10 not. And by the way, I should say one more thing. It's not that much of an issue of age, but education level, although that does correlate a bit with age as well. And so my point is this, so for the last 10%, we are still eager to get them online as much as we can. For example, we are now trying out soon new community-based initiatives and stuff like that. But yeah, so far we haven't taken the offline analog option away. But if we get even more people online, then we would actually be able to also economize in that sense. But the point is we have to bridge the divide first. We are very clear about this.
All right. We have a little digital thing for you. We will be watching a video right after this. Thanks very much.
Thank you.